What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and football is back. Day one of Vikings training camp is here, and I couldn't be more excited. So coming up on today's show, some news and nuggets that we accumulated before Vikings training camp gets underway here in a couple of hours. We do have some great injury updates, specifically on Christian Darrisaw, and then Josh Metellus. What's going on with his contract negotiation? We'll get you guys the latest there, what Kwesi had to say on that. Also, Kevin O'Connell was talking about J.J. McCarthy and how he is more comfortable year two in this system. So pretty cool stuff there. And then finally, I just got 5 training camp storylines that I am going to be following as training camp is underway. Day one, it feels so good to be back. And if you guys are excited, Vikings football is back. Go down there, hit that thumbs up icon for me. Show your excitement down below. Couldn't be more excited, man. Real football is here. No more BS rumors that you guys always get on me for in the comments, but we got some football here. So if you guys are fired up, hit that thumbs up icon. So quickly, here's some other injury news. Gavin Bartholomew was actually put on PUP, which, obviously not good. 6th-round pick dealing with a lower back injury. But if you guys notice here, Christian Darrisaw, Fries, Rondale Moore, all not on PUP, which is great news, and it leaves that door open for week 1 for a return for Christian Darrisaw. But KOC was talking specifically about number 71, saying this: I would expect him to be a part of individual drills, which is awesome. We're obviously not in pads until Monday of next week, but we will ramp up here with our work starting tomorrow, and he'll be working through individuals. And eventually he'll work into some of the combination periods, working across from some of our defensive players, and then we'd like to start progressing him to getting some work in the team periods. When that happens, the timeline will be predicated on basically have a plan in place, but have to subject to adapt and adjust based upon how he's responding, but based upon how he's attacked this whole process, which, once again, I cannot give him any more credit. Hopefully I've made that. I've emphasized that enough, because he has been phenomenal. His presence in the building every day, and this all part of a plan that has been set in motion a long time ago, and we'll see how it goes with him. So I think that's great news for Christian Darrisaw. Like, just the fact that he'll be out there for individual drills, with his teammates. He's obviously got a great energy around him, and this guy, in my opinion, top 3 offensive tackle in the National Football League. But let's just play this hypothetical: CD can't go week 1 versus Chicago Bears, which is very much on the table. Like, I could see Darrisaw maybe making that return week 3 or week 2 for the home opener Sunday night versus the Atlanta Falcons. But if Christian Darrisaw can't go, I still think the Vikings have a solid offensive line. And, I think the signing of Justin Skule might be one of the most underappreciated moves. And honestly, I have not done a good job of talking about it enough, because he was one of the better swing tackles in the NFL this past season. And if you pair him up next to 1st-round pick Donovan Jackson, you got a veteran like Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, and Brian O'Neill. Like, that's still a great 5-man offensive line unit. And I think that speaks to the depth that they have in this room. But you may be saying, well, what's going on with Will Fries? Obviously, he had that broken leg last year. Well, Kevin O'Connell said this. Shout out to Alec Lewis, best in the game. Give him a follow over there on Twitter. But he tweeted this out saying, Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell says Will Fries is cleared and ready to go. We'll have to ramp up, but expect him to be pretty integrated here at training camp. And KOC was just talking about Darrisaw, Will Fries, and Rondale Moore as a whole. As all 3 of those guys are coming back from major injuries. And that's what he had to say. I want to highlight the work they put in this summer to put themselves in a position to be out there on the grass practicing, all in different capacities. But we are very pleased with where all those guys are at. We have great plans on the calendar for those guys, and cannot wait to see that kind of come to fruition. And I was just thinking about this Vikings roster as a whole heading into next season. And I think they have a walk off the bus feel. And what I mean by that, playing high school football, you would always see a team, get off the bus. And if they just have a bunch of big dudes, they got like a 4 or 5-star recruit, like, it can be very intimidating. And I think the Vikings almost have that sort of feel. Or if you just are looking around where it's like, oh, there's Christian Darrisaw, top 5 left tackle. There's Jefferson, the best wideout in the league. You got Jordan Addison. You got T.J. Hawkinson. And on the defensive side of the field, it's like there's Hargrave, Jonathan Allen, Jonathan Grenard, Van Ginkel, Dallas Turner, Cashman, Byron Murphy, Harrison Smith, Josh Metellus. Like, I'm sure those guys in that locker room start to look around and being like, man, we got a hell of a ball club here in Minnesota. So I can't wait. But again, great news that this team is healthy. And if you guys want to wish the Vikings injury luck this entire season, Don't jinx it for us. Give me a SKOL down below in the comment section. If this team can stay healthy, they're going to be a very dangerous team this year, and especially if J.J. McCarthy has a fantastic year one, which we are all expecting him to do so. This team could be competing for a Super Bowl this upcoming year. But coming up next year, I do want to dive into the Josh Metellus, the latest going on around his contract. Is there some drama? Is there not? Not really too concerned with the latest on Metellus. But before we dive into it, I do want to tell you guys about a new product we have here, and that is Daily Greens by Factor Form. And if you guys head on over to factor75.com/Vikings chat, we'll hook you guys up with 40% off plus free shipping on your first order. Now, I have tried green supplements in the past, and I swore I was never going to try them again, but then I pivoted to Factor Form's Daily Greens, and it completely changed my life. Most of us dread drinking greens, but Factor Form changed the game. You actually crave your greens as a sister brand of Factor Meals. Factor Form was designed to work hand in hand with your meals, making better nutrition effortless. Daily Greens is a greens powder by Factor Form you'll look forward to drinking. Just one scoop delivers 100% of your daily nutrients, filling nutrient gaps, supporting whole body health, and helping you feel your best. Now, Daily Greens by Factor Form is made from real vegetables, packed with a whole serving of kale and spinach without tasting like it. And in a blind taste test, this is my favorite part, Daily Greens ranked number 1 in taste, texture, and aroma, beating out the biggest names in the industry. So start your day right with Daily Greens by Factor Form at factor75.com/Vikings chat to get 40% off plus free shipping on your first order. That's factor75.com/Vikings chat for 40% off plus free shipping. Hit that link in the comment section and description of today's show, factor75.com/Vikings chat. So Kwesi, during his press conference yesterday with Kevin O'Connell, he was obviously asked about Josh Metellus, and he thinks he'll fully participate in training camp drills. Now, obviously, Josh, he missed a couple of practices in the spring. Not really a holdout, but he was just trying to get, this contract that, he rightfully thinks he deserves. But also Ben Gessling, one of the top beat reporters from Minnesota, said, I would think that if they're going to get a deal done, they won't drag this out longer than necessary. If the conversations are continually about that, I guess I feel like it probably gets done. Now, the question with Josh Metellus is, how much should the Vikings pay him? Because, Metellus is obviously a key part of this defense. He plays multiple positions. He is huge for this Brian Flores system specifically. And I remember this graphic 2 years ago they showed talking about all the different positions Metellus played. Strong safety, free safety, left, right, slot, corner, left, right, inside linebacker, lined up on the defensive line a couple of plays. Like, he is so important. So it's like, are you going to pay him the safety market? Are you going to pay him the linebacker market? Or are you just going to pay him for, his production out there on the field? But two of the big safety contracts this past season was Javon Holland getting $15 million from the Giants, and then our very own Cam Bynum getting $15 million from the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I'm not sure if Metellus will get this much per year. I could maybe see him floating around that $11 to $13 million range. I would be a little nervous giving him $15 million per year. Yes, he is a key piece, but that's a lot of money for a safety. And I think if we read the tea leaves, the Vikings weren't comfortable giving Cam Bynum that deal. Would they be comfortable giving Josh Metellus that? We'll have to wait and see. But I'll ask you guys, put on your GM hat for me. How much per year should the Vikings give Josh Metellus? You guys let me know your thoughts down below. I'm comfortable in that $11 to $13 million range, but if you guys disagree or agree with me, let me know your thoughts down below. All right, now Kevin O'Connell was talking about J.J. McCarthy. It was funny during the press conference. The first 2 or 3 questions were all on number 9, for a right reason. He's the biggest question mark, X factor, whatever buzzword you want to use for this football team. But KOC said this on McCarthy, saying, you feel the energy and the enthusiasm, not only that he has brought to the group, but they're reciprocating it right back to him. So that's pretty cool stuff. This was I forget who asked it, but they're asking about Harrison Phillips comparing J.J. McCarthy to Josh Allen and just the energy that they both bring, and that was the response KOC had. But he was also asked about the difference between J.J. from year 1 to year 2, and he said this, I think he's much more comfortable in the core foundation of the system. Everything was new last year, and we saw him show some real improvements in certain areas throughout the early part of training camp last year. But now he's got all that work banked, and then we're able to, with how he handled the spring, there's a lot of reps. Not always full speed, but there are a lot of banked reps that he can fall back on against our defense within the new updates and the new changes that we've kind of implemented into this scheme. And first off, on the new scheme that the Vikings have, I'm assuming that's going to be more of a run-heavy offense, catering to J.J. McCarthy, but specifically on J.J. and KOC, I cannot wait to see this relationship build over the next couple of years. Hopefully, it's over the next 10 years. Like, hopefully, we see these guys, and we're year 7 of J.J. McCarthy, year whatever it be 10 or 11 of KOC being the head coach, and these guys are just on the same page. I just can't wait to see it build. It's going to be a special connection. And it starts at training camp, then in the preseason, regular season, and hopefully the postseason for our Minnesota Vikings. But I do want to dive in just 5 quick storylines that I'm going to be keeping my eyes out on during training camp. Also, I put out a tweet earlier saying, who do you guys think should be Mr. Mankato? I'm going to put Silas Bolden as my pick there. The obviously dynamic kick returner, punt returner. Obviously, the Vikings had, a need at that position this past season, and Silas is one of the most electric players with the football in his hand. So I'll go him for Mr. Mankato. But, top storyline here has to be Josh Metellus' participation. Obviously, Kwesi expects him to be there, expects him to be participating in drills. Will that actually happen? We'll see here in a couple of hours. But also the cornerback play. You got big question marks around that cornerback 3 spot. I'm not even going to say it's a question mark around cornerback 2 anymore. I think Isaiah Rodgers will have a good year. Clearly, this coaching staff loves him. But who's going to be that third corner? Will it be Mekhi Blackman? Could it be a guy like Jeff Okudah? What about a UDFA, Zamia Vaughn, or Dwight McGlothern? We'll see how that plays out. But also, keeping it on defense here, Dallas Turner. That's a huge question mark around this team. How does he get out there on the football field more? Because, obviously last year only playing about 300 snaps, he was playing behind Grenard and Van Ginkel. He was just not going to be able to crack that rotation because both those guys are playing at all pro levels this past season. So how do they use him more? Maybe that means Van Ginkel moves more into a linebacker role. Turner slots in at that edge, or maybe Turner. He had that sweet interception. I think it was week 15 against Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. He clearly has an ability to drop back in the coverage, but how would they get him out there on the football field more? This should be a guy that's playing 70, 75% of snaps on defense. And, KOC kind of hinted at it. The offensive scheme change. Clearly this team needs to be better with running the football. That's the most obvious thing. Like, I am so excited to watch J.J. McCarthy week 1 versus the Bears, but I'm probably more excited to see this run game week 1 against Chicago. Even if Darrisaw is not there, you should be an effective unit. And, I think everything's set in place where you got the good offensive line, you got 2 good running backs. I'm going to be evaluating Kevin O'Connell. Can he get that scheme going where they're consistently running the football just like, Sean McVay, he leans into the run. Matt LaFleur, he obviously leans into the run. So can he kind of take a page out of those guys' playbooks? We'll wait and see instead of just being this pass-heavy offense, which has worked over the last couple of years. But then postseason time comes around, and you don't have that run game. It's kind of like not having a bullpen in the postseason for the MLB. So we'll see that change hopefully here in training camp. And then also one guy, Rondale Moore. Listen, he was a former second-round pick, all types of talent. Obviously, hasn't really lived up to that draft pedigree so far in the NFL, but whether that's getting into the football, quick screens, jet sweeps, however it may be, curious to see how KOC uses Rondale Moore this year. But we appreciate all of you guys watching today's show. We are going to be going live here on the channel at 4 p.m. Central Time to get you guys more around training camp and just more around your Minnesota Vikings. So if you guys made it to the end, give me a skull down below. And also hit me up on Twitter. I'll be tweeting out about Vikings training camp this whole season, or this whole session leading up to the preseason. So give me a follow over there at Pat Sieps. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes.